Okay, 810 fractions with money. And at this point of the chapter here, quick review. You can look at your quizzes I gave back too, but we started our first 3 lessons focused on multiplying. We learned about the of thing, then we did about 3 lessons with dividing. So now you see we got a mix of both multiplying and dividing. Remember what we see the word of means multiplying, right? I even say it right there. Remember, of means times. So basically these are going to be multiplying problems, these are going to be division problems. So be aware of that when you're doing the homework, be aware of that most of the rest of the chapter, that now you know how to do both. Both are fair game at this point going forward, and both will be used. The rest of the chapter, they can switch at any time between the two. So just be, as you're solving problems, again, if you divide and you're supposed to multiply, well, you're probably going to get it wrong, I would assume. So, big thing, and we talked about this off camera here, just kind of looking at this example, they say 3/4 of $1.50, 3/4, multiply it out. Couple different ways we can go about doing this here, but notice how if we work it all out here, we get 1.125 as our answer. And that is not a money representation. These are all money. Money is always represented to 2 decimal spots, always. So name of the game here is most of these are going to have 3 or more decimals to their answers here. But our work and our dividing work should stop at that third decimal spot, because we don't, even if it's not done, we don't care how much farther it goes. We just need that third decimal for our rounding. That 5 tells us to round up, $1.13. This one does terminate at this point, but even if it kept going, there's no point in continuing to solve the problem, the division problem, any further once you hit that third decimal, because the rest of it's all totally irrelevant. You just need this one for rounding. So keep that in mind, that as we're doing these here, you're going to always want to work them out until you get to that third decimal spot. And then stop. Don't keep solving your division problem. You're just wasting time. There's no purpose to it anymore, because our objectives are to represent our answer as money, 2 decimal spots, right? Okay, so a couple different ways we can go about doing these here. Let's look at, I guess we'll just start with number 1. And it says 1/2 of $46. And again, you want to use your cross simplifying if you can, but it's not always going to be required, and I can show you another way you can go about doing it. If some of the cross simplifying gets a little zany for you, you're not even sure, there is an alternative path to solving these here that may interest you. So first thing I would probably do here is just rewrite the problem in our form here. 1/2 of means times, and then I can certainly write this in this form. If I want to write the 0, 0, I guess I can. Doesn't matter too much with these whole numbers at this point here. But this one's pretty easy to cross simplify, right? Yeah. $23. Not too hard. Okay. Let's look at, I guess, number 3. 1/3 of $6.09. And this one here, again, guys, shh. So if I set it up, 6.09 over 1. And I can certainly cross simplify. I should know that 3 goes into $6.09, because if I add up the sum of the digits, I get 15. 15 divides into 3. $6.09 does divide by 3. So you could certainly cross simplify here. And then again, you're dividing into decimals. So when you're dividing into decimals here, we don't have to worry about moving the decimal really at this time here. The only decimals we would move is if they're in the divisor. But the dividend, the decimal is locked in place. So when I'm solving 3 into $6.09, the first thing I'm doing is I'm placing my decimal right there. And now I can just solve it the same way I would solve as 609 divided by 3. 3 goes into 6 2 times. Now I'm at my decimal. Everything from this point on is after the decimal. Terminates, should end up with $2.03. Just like 3 into 609 is 203. 3 into $6.09 is $2. There's my decimal. It never moves. 3 cents. So when you're dividing these here, again, you can think about it the same as if it was a whole number. But remember, your decimal never moves. Right? Decimal never moved. Let's look at number 5. So number 5 is a little bit more tricky, and I'm going to show you probably how I would go about solving this type of problem. So first thing I'll do is rewrite, and I could cross simplify, and I will. I'm going to solve this problem twice, okay, because I'm going to show you an alternative method that you'll need to consider here with some of these. Because I can't, unlike these, I was able to turn everything into ones here, right? Which made it awesome. But that's not going to be an option this time here. It could, and I guess I can do this 3 different ways, and I will. So here we go. Way number 1. I'll use my cross simplifying, and I'll cross simplify as best I can. What can I divide into 4 and 70?
2.
I can divide both of them by 2. So if I divide both by 2, I get a 35 up there.
You get 105 over 2.
And then go ahead and start doing what I got to do. I can't cross simplify any further. Agreed?
Yeah.
So 3 times 35 is 105 on top. And on the bottom, I got 2. Right? Now, we're talking money here, right? So now I need to set up my division bar. Right? Because 105 over 2, that is not a money representation at all. That needs to be represented in money form. How much is 105 over 2 is money? So what you're going to want to do is you're going to need to get a set. You're going to need to set up your division bar, start working through it. 2 goes into 10 5 times. Bring down the 5, 2 goes into 5 2 times. And now, this is where I'm at here at this point here, but we are not using remainders. We are not representing our answer in fractions. We're talking money. Money is always 2 decimal spots. So what do I need to do here at this point?
Bring down the 0.
I need to add the 0 first, but at this point here, it's still 105, but now I need to add the decimal myself because I'm not done here. And now, put that 0 in place here. Now, again, my decimal's right here. Drop that 0. 2 goes into 10 5 times. No remainder, 52.5. That's not a money representation either. What do I need to do to represent this as a money answer?
That is 0.
Right. I need to add one more 0. This should be $52.50 here. Okay. And again, I'm going to work this same problem 3 times because I'm going to show you 3 different ways you could consider this, depending which one you like the most. So this is cross-simplifying. I cross-simplified as best I could. I got to this point here. I had to go to a division problem. You're going to need to create your own decimal and place value zeros a lot of times to make sure that you're representing your answer in the right form. So same problem. Method 2 I could use. So method 2 would entail using no cross simplifying at all and simply just multiplying your numerator, whatever they are. You're not going to cross simplify anything. You're just going to multiply your numerators together. You're going to multiply your denominators together. And then once again, back to the division bar we go. 4 into 21, 5, minus a 20, a 1, drop the 0. 4 into 10, 2 times, subtract 8, create a decimal, drop it. 4 into 20, 5 times, minus 20. There's my other 0. 5250 shows up again. All right? So I didn't even bother with cross simplifying this time. And again, you'll see that some of these here get a little intense here. You may not know if it even simplifies at all. And if you can cross simplify, you can help yourself a little bit, but some of these are going to get a little big and you may not even know. And if you spend time trying to cross simplify, you may find it's not even possible in the first place, and you've just spent all this time trying to do a step that's not even possible. So if you're not seeing it or feeling it, then just skip that whole process altogether and just multiply whatever your numerators are, multiply your denominators, solve your division problem that you have left. All right, that would be method 2. Method 3 is a variation of cross simplifying where at all costs I must turn this into a 1. No matter what. And when I try and simplify up into here, I'm going to put a decimal up in here this time. So I am going to divide 4 into 70. I don't care that it doesn't evenly divide. I don't care that I'm going to not have a whole number response. I'm going to divide both of these by 4. So once again, now I'm setting up this problem. 4 goes into 70. There's a 1, subtract the 4, a 3, drop the 0. A 7, a 28, a 2, drop another 0, 4 goes into 20, 5 times. So I've turned this into 17.5 or $17.50. I divided 4 into 70 this time. And now I have 17.50 up here, or 17.5. Now I can go back to, I got the 1 on the bottom, so all I need to do now is just multiply what I have on top here. There's my 5, carry the 1, 21 plus 1 is 2, carry the 2, 3 times 1 plus 2, bada bing, bada boom, add my extra 0 I need, there's my 5250. And this is, I will turn this into a 1 at all costs, and I will divide, and I will get a decimal on top here, but that's okay. That doesn't matter because I'm going to end up with a decimal in my answer anyway. I'm talking money. And then I just solve this multiplying problem here. So 3 different methods you could use. You could cross simplify like normal, get what you got, divide it out there, 5250. You can totally eliminate any cross simplifying, multiply the numerators and denominators. Once again, solve your division problem, 5250. Or you can go, I will turn this into a 1. I don't care what I get on top. I'm going to divide it. I don't care. 1750 times 3 is 5250.
I like the last one.
Right. You have some choices here. I don't really care what you do. What I obviously care about is seeing $52.50 for your final answer. If you get 52.50, I like how you did it. Okay? Sometimes, like, look at number 7. In this one here, again, you're going to want to be careful about using method 3 on it, because while not impossible, 3 does not go into 2150 at all, which means we're going to have the decimal is going to go more than 2 spots. If I try and divide 3 into 2150, well, I'm going to use method 1. I can't do any clean cross simplifying. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
There's nothing to do. So now I'm up to method 2. And if I go with method 2, I'm going to take 2150 times 2. So 2150 times 2, 0, 0, 3, 5, $53.
Yep.
I get 53 on top, 3 on the bottom. And then to the division bar I go, 3 goes into 53, 1, subtract, drop the 3, 3 into 23 7 times. Now I got a 2, it's up to me to add that place value 0, drop it, 3 into 20, 6 times, subtract the 18, another 2, another 0, another drop, another 6, and you may realize it's a repeating decimal at this point here, add that third 0. At this point here, if you didn't realize it was repeating by the second decimal, you did by the third. But what's my final answer going to be? It's 17.666.
Oh, so it would be 17.
Wait, I got $43 instead of 50.
You probably just messed up.
I think, I think do 0,
No, because 2 times.
Oh, right, it should be $43.
Oh.
Who caught that? Dom? All right, Dom, you get an extra credit point. First one to catch it. All right, math error. All right,
You're an error.
I owe you a point of extra credit on your homework tomorrow. Yep. Okay, well, let's redo this here, since I did it all wrong. Okay, 3, so one more time. 1, drop the 3. 4, 12, 1, drop the 0, 3 into 10, 3 times, 9, 1, 0, 3, 9, 1, one more, and there we go. So now what's my final answer?
$14.33.
Right. And again, you may have realized this was a repeating thing, and you probably could have filled in this 3 on your own at some point here without working it all the way. I don't know. But as soon as I got to this point here, I'm done. I need this 3 for my rounding digit. 3 tells me to round down, or stay where I'm at, however you word it. But money is always represented with 2 decimal spots. If I would have somehow got a 7 here, well then, what would my answer be?
34 cents.
Right, it would be $14.34, and that if I would get a 5 through 9 in this spot here, because I'm rounding up, I would get $14.34. That's why this third decimal is so important. It's your rounding decimal. It's telling you where to go to the penny. Am I rounding down or staying where I'm at, or do I need to round up to the next place value? You don't know until you get that third decimal. Okay. Now, just trying to illustrate here what would happen. What would happen if we tried to do it this way? And you can see what's going to happen here. This is going to get a little tricky, but 21, a 0, drop the 5, 3 into 5 one time, minus a 3 is a 2, a 0, there's a 6, 18, 2, 6. And how exactly are you going to divide that? Or multiply, where did I go here? I try to divide, because ultimately I'm going to have to multiply this times 2. But the problem you're going to have with this repeating decimal here is how are you going to get to multiply by 2, and how far do you have to go with it? That's tricky. That's tricky. So in this case here, option 3 would not be a good choice for me, because at some point here I'm going to have to multiply by 2. But when exactly do I multiply by 2? Do I do it at this point here? You don't really know. If I take my 3 decimals here, 1666, there we go. 2, carry the 1, 3, carry the 1, 3, and I get 14.332, which again, it can work. That would still round down, right? I got when I eventually I just did 3 decimals here, because I did 3 into 2150, right? Method 3.
Yeah.
I wrote it out 3 decimal spots, multiplied it by 2, and I could still get there. I could still get there. But if you would run into a situation where if this is like a 4, 5, or 6, and you're right on the line, notice how I got a 2 this time, but when I was doing it over here this way, I got a 3 every time. Now, the difference between a 2 and a 3 when you're rounding doesn't matter, but if it's a difference between a 4 and a 5, you would get 2 totally different answers, right? You see the problem you could encounter there? So it worked out fine this time, and it will work out the majority of the time for you, option 3 this way here, but you're going to be dealing with some strange type numbers here, and you may have a slight rounding error at the very end. Okay. Why don't you guys try number 8?
Dominic?
Number 8.
Number
3/8 of 1650.
Oh.
That doesn't even make sense.
You, no, I'm dividing 8 into 16, but.
16.5.
You can do that. Yeah, you can. Use your brain.
Oh.
Something you guys.
So this one here, just kind of eyeballing it, I would say methods 1 or 2 would both
Yeah.
make sense. You could simplify this a bit. Could use some cross simplifying if you want. But does 8 go into 1,650?
No. I mean, it could. I don't know.
1,000,
But 2 doesn't.
Depends on the last 3 digits. Does 8 go into 650? That's the key.
But you have to add the last thing. Oh.
You know 2 does. But even dividing by 2, you get a 4 and then $8.25 on top. But what have you accomplished there? You would still have to multiply 825 times 3, then divide by 4.
That would be a lot.
Is that any more difficult than skipping that cross-simplifying step and just going right to it? 1650 times 3, take that answer and then divide it by 8. It's your choice.
Yeah, I'm doing the second one.
You can cross-simplify 825 and 4. 825 times 3, take that answer, divide by 4. Or you can skip that step and just get to it. 3 times 1650, take that answer and divide it by 8. Both are okay. It's just, I mean, I'd probably use option 2. I wouldn't even mess around with cross-simplifying because I'm still going to have to solve a multiply on top, divide by the bottom problem. The numbers aren't so big that I've really gained much by shrinking it.
I did the number 2 way. So.
That's what I would do too. In this one here,
Like number 2 way is no crossing.
method 2 is your tried and true approach.
Yeah. Like nothing.
Because it's straight up. All you do is multiply your numerators, multiply your denominators, and then divide.
I did number 1. That was pretty easy. Yes, I did.
So I'm going to do method 2. Again, if you simplified 825 and 4, then you're still at the same step as us. But so what I would do is just multiply what I got on top. 1650 times 3, 0, 5, 9, 4. I get 4950 on top. And then on the bottom, 8 times 1 is 8. So I'm left with 4950 over 8. And then I would set up my division bar and solve my division problem. 6. Decimal doesn't move. 1, 8, 7. Drop the 0. Another 8. 64. A 6. One more. Rounding decimal. A 7. And this is where I'm stopping the problem. Yeah, just finish up. This is where I stop the problem. Yes, the problem is not done. 8 times 7 is 56. 60 minus 56 is 4, but I don't need to keep going. This is my rounding decimal. What's my answer?
$6.19.
Right, I'm rounding up. So,
Oh, I got it.
again, I don't need to keep solving this problem at this point here. I don't need to do 8 times 7 is 56 and keep going with more decimals. There's no point to it. Money terminates at 2 decimals. Once I get that third decimal, I'm done with this problem. And as soon as I got that 7 there, 8 goes into 60 7 times, that's the end of my problem right there. I don't go any farther. Don't need to. Right? And again, you could have got there the same too. You would have had this, you would have had this. 825 times 3 is 2475 divided by 4. Would have been your, if you used method 1, cross simplified. And then this again would be the same thing. 24, 0, decimal doesn't move, 7, 1, 4, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 32, 3, 0, 40 into that 7 times. You end up at the same spot here. And that's if you divided both of these by 2. But my question to you is, what did you gain by doing that move?
A brain.
Not much. Because you're still ultimately solving. In this case here, I mean, cross-simplifying has its purposes, especially if it's whole numbers. Always do it. But with this type of situation, I don't really see any difference in these two division problems and their difficulty to solve. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would.
So what was the point of even doing this step then? Best case scenario, you don't make an error cross simplifying this here. That's your best case scenario. Because if you make an error here, well then this is all wrong anyway. It just added a kind of an unnecessary step in this case here. So there are 3 options, and they all have their time and place. I guess the higher you are at your math skills, the more you could probably draw the best of the 3 choices. I mean, I've kind of shown the problems we've worked through. There was a benefit to all 3 methods with some of the different problems. But to truly maximize those benefits, you have to be really good at knowing your multiplication and division tables here. And if you're weak on them or not feeling comfortable, you should always use method 2. Multiply the numerators, multiply the denominators, divide. End of discussion. If you're feeling more juicy and understand things going on and can see a shortcut, hey, take it. They're out there. There are shortcuts out there for you if you want them. But if you're not there and that's not your game, you should just go the same way. Multiply the numerators, multiply the denominators, divide. Okay? Okay. A couple more. Maybe we're not going to have any dear time today.
Let's go.
Okay, let's try number 9.
Oh, that's my hockey number.
Wait, oh.
It's also Michael Penix Jr.'s number.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I don't know who that guy is.
Good job.
I'm looking forward to that high 5, by the way.
Oh, yeah. I'll just be at the end of class.
Right. Okay, so this one here, clearly division problems, but once again, we're going to make sure that first thing I would do is rewrite this as an improper fraction. I got $3.50. If you just want to call it 3.5 and deal with the money later on, all the power to you. Divided by 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1 is 7 over 2. So for my solving purposes here, I'm taking out the money in that 0 decimal. I don't really need it at the moment here. But what do I need to do with this problem here? What do I need to do next here?
You can either, oh, you have to turn it into a problem.
Right.
Problem with the reciprocal.
Right. Yeah, right. Whenever we're dividing with fractions, we need to rewrite. So this should actually be 3.5 times 2 over 7. And now you have an easy cross simplify option to you if you want it, because 7 does go into 35. It's 50 cents up here. which is the same as 1/2, and half of 2 is $1. $1. Two-
I did not get that.
I got it.
I put the wrong one.
So again, you had to cross simplify here, but again, if you're not feeling it or seeing that there, no problem. 350 times 2 is 7 over 7. Because when I multiply the numerators, 3.5 times 2 or 350 times 2 is just 7. 1 times 7 is 7. Divide them out, 7 divided by 7, $1. So in this case, methods 1 or 2 would both be method 1 would probably be the better choice. Use your cross simplifying in this case here. Try number 11.
I got the correct one.
3675 divided by 3 3/4. Method 2 is almost certainly the way to go here.
Wait, what was method 2 again?
Oh! You
didn't
just multiply it. You don't cross it.
Multiply the numerators, multiply the denominators, divide.
I thought it was.
Right.
I didn't ask.
Yeah, because I didn't know.
Method 1 is definitely not going to work, and method 3, the numbers are just going to be too strange and weird.
Okay, yeah. Hey, that ain't a bad.
Actually, well, method 1 would work,
Yeah, you can. It's just-
because the sum of 3675 is 21,
Yeah.
which does divide into 3. So method 1 will work for you. You can just do 3675 divided by 3 times 15.
5 times 3 is a number.
Okay, then.
What's that?
So both methods 1 and 2 are on the table here.
9, let's go. I did not get it.
I'll work it both ways.
A person? Well, someone like that don't care for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Last one, and then off we go. I'm going to work it both ways, though. Shouldn't take me too long. But I'll let you guys finish it here.
Yay. Very nice number. Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm good. I'm just saying.
Because of your haircut.
No.
So regardless of which method you're going with,
Your new haircut's bad about
12 divided by 15 over 4. Or actually, no. Does it divide by 15? I don't even know. Maybe it does.
Divide by 3.
Oh, this is bad luck.
I read it wrong. 3 isn't the right number. 4 is the number, or 15 times 4 over 15. So now you got your choice.
Oh, that's why I did it.
You got your choice here at this point. And again, your question is, does 15 go into $36.75 evenly?
I don't know.
I don't even know off the top of my head. Do you want to invest time seeing if it is? Because if it is, if it does go clean into it, then all you need to do is multiply by 4 at the end.
I got to ask that question. Yeah.
So if I try and cross,
Ask for a calculator.
well, we don't have them at this point. So if you try and cross simplify, you can decide if this is worth the time and effort or not. But the $1 million question is, obviously it goes into 5, but that doesn't really help us much. So it's either all or nothing for this one here. So let's figure it out. Does it? Does it? 36, 7, 4, 67, 5, and 5. 245. It does. So I could turn this into 245 and this into 1. And then to bring it on home here, my final answer, I got a 1 on the bottom, whatever 245 times 4 is, 20, 16, 18, and 9.
Let's go.
$9.80.
What I got.
That's if you use your cross simplify. Hold on. I'm gonna work it the other way too, and then we're out of here.
I don't wanna know what I
So that's cross simplifying. But again,
You got 177.
yeah, guys, shh. I'm gonna work it the other way too for those that need it. Again, it's up to you to decide, do you want to even attempt this? Because if you don't get a nice, clean answer like that, you've kind of wasted your time. It's a risk. It's a risk.
Guys, we're still.
But in this case, the risk paid off. Because now I'm just left with this pretty simple multiplying problem here. But if I didn't know that or want to invest the time into that, what do I got to do? I got to take 675, multiply it times 4, multiply the numerators, 20, 30, 27, and 14. I get 147, right?
Yeah.
On top. And then on the bottom, 15 times 1 is 15. So now, to bring it on home, I need to divide 15 into 147. So 15 goes into 147, 9 times, 135, a 12, a 0, an 8, 120, 0, 0, and 0. So, just curious, who did it this way? Who cross-simplified the 15 off? Nobody tried to take the 15? You all went this way?
thought about it, but
I did that. I got $12.20. I got $9.80.
I got you don't want
So I got 137.
There's pros and cons. I mean, if it does divide, you got to admit though, guys, 245 times 4 to 980 is a lot easier than 15 into 147. Right?
What did I got?
What?
$3.67.
All right.
Closer than 6.
You have options. You have options. So we'll check them tomorrow. Again, you have options.
I got beer.
There you go. Bring them up. Bring 'em up.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah.
There you go.